Okay, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bunker. Welcome to the maiden voyage of the audio slash video content of the bunker. Just talking about what an adventure that is. I think we picked a pretty good first guest for this new platform, and is our good friend Andy Andrews. He's been in the field for over 35 years, has investigated hauntings, cryptids, and has also recently gotten into the study of the UFO phenomenon. And he was on several teams over the years before founding Vapor in 2018, and that stands for the Valley Agency of Paranormal Research. He grew up seeing spirits since the age of 3, living on the land which saw some of the craziest bloodshed during the Civil War Battle of Cedar Creek. He has studied demonology with Jeremy Leonard and exorcist Father Mike Ross. He's a part of Jeremy's Cajun Ministry Foundation with the title of Demonic Specialist. We love seeing you, Andy, every year at all the events that you help put together, but especially the Battlefield Bash in Gettysburg. And you're also currently manage Ghost City Tours, also in Gettysburg. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So you and Beth have this thing in common, seeing spirits since a super early age. And I think, for you, Beth, it was 3-4 years old, something like that. Same thing with you, Andy. Let's start there. What was it like? How did that start? At the age of 3, what were you seeing? How did you process that at the time? And did anyone believe you as just a 3-year-old? How did that all play out?
Yeah. So with the Battle of Cedar Creek, actually where my house sat at, right behind it would have been an ammunition dump, is what they called it. So it would have been where they would have melted down the lead to make bullets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so my grandparents, it was their property, but they gave my parents property to build a house on for their wedding gifts. So that's where we ended up at so that was pretty much, I guess, probably 7,500 yards behind my house where that was. And my grandfather, he would work at night, come home at like 2-3 in the morning, and they had a big floodlight that was on the side of the house that would go off by movement, and he would pull in and go to bed, I guess, or whatnot, but that light would stay on for a bit, and it was on my side of the house. So usually that woke me up, and I started noticing movement like right where the light would stop at. And I would watch and watch and watch, and then finally it would start to move out into the light. And what ended up happening was I would see, I guess you could say, full body apparitions. It was more, I don't know, it was really weird. Sometimes they would be like a vaporish kind of smoky look to them, but you could definitely tell they had like a rifle and stuff like that. Well, first thing that I thought was, somebody was coming to steal the house. So I'd wake up my parents. You're talking 2-3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. They would, first couple times, the old man would get up and go outside, call my grandfather. He would come outside, and after about 2 or 3 times not finding anything, they got pretty hot at me. So after that, they ended up, so I would continue to see him 2 or 3 times a week. And parents, I guess it was around 4.5 years old, were concerned, as it's the word to say for it. And they actually took me to a psychologist. I ended up going through all these brain scans, everything else as a kid. I mean, that was terrifying at that point. And finally, my grandmother sat down with my mom and said, I'm gifted and maybe he's gifted. And but after I started going to doctors and stuff like that, I stopped seeing them because I think I was so scared to be looked at as some freak, I guess you could say, or the parents thinking something was wrong. And so from that point on, I would still catch things, but it kind of died out for me a little bit. And once I started getting a little bit older, my grandmother would sit with me, we would talk, and So from that point on, I always had an interest in it, would ask her a ton of questions. And then when I was 14 years old, I ran into a gentleman that, another guy, same age as me, we were camping at a campground, and it was a private resort. And he lived in a house in Fredericksburg where the Battle of Fredericksburg happened. And his house was actually used as a officer's quarters. And he was having paranormal experiences. So from that point on, him and I, every weekend, his parents would come to the resort. Mine was there. Him and I would go out and like start going into, I guess you could call it urban exploring at the time. And we had a little bitty cassette player, like the ones that you push, um, play and record at the same time, and put it in a house one night that was abandoned, and actually picked up some voices. And we thought, we didn't know what we were doing. And yeah, and that's about where it all started at. And 16 years old, we decided to take a trip to New York and went to Staten Island to Wagner College and listened to these people called the Warrens talk about the Amityville horror. And we were like, seeing all these cool instruments. And so from that point on, we just kept collecting places to go. And then I'd say around 35, 40 years old, I started to notice that I could feel things a lot stronger if I just took my time and kind of meditated and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at now, working on things. Um, and yeah, I've always been a cryptid guy. My dad was a big UFO freak. So that's always been around. But that's kind of how it got started. And I just wanted to get into it and make sure that other people had a voice, that were having hauntings and stuff and weren't looked at as a, you know, outsider or nutcase or something like that. That if they truly had stuff going on, I wanted to make sure that I could validate that for them and then help them in any way that I could. So that's kind of where the demonic stuff come in at, which is a very bad word. I can tell you, working with Father Mike, we don't run into a lot of cases hardly at all. So I'm loose with that. I'm very tight with using that word demonic. So
Yeah, and I think that's been. I mean, we've been investigating for probably over 10 years, and I can't tell you one case that really was legitimately labeled, a demonic case. I mean, it is so. That's the one thing you always hear people that have been doing this a while, is it how incredibly rare that ever happens. And it's that's a whole different picture that's painted on television, but it's every other bump in the night is a demon on TV.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very sensationalized for sure. And yeah, me and Mike find out a lot of times when I go with Mike places, it ends up being somebody that's been through some trauma in their life. And I mean, I would say more maybe like poltergeist, maybe it's something self-made, in my opinion, where they've put so much energy and fear into something that it actually manifests something. And that's what we usually run into a lot of times. And then they start talking to it, and then they start like giving it all kinds of, they're giving it attention. And I believe it becomes self-aware after so long and is able to move things and stuff like that. And automatically they're demonic. And it's like, once you get them mentally stable and they're working on things, you notice the stuff stops most of the time.
I agree.
Yeah, Beth says it all the time. Same thing. Yep.
Yeah, and we're lucky working with Mike. I'm lucky to have a counselor that donates her time to sit down and give 2 or 3 sessions usually to people. And we try to do that before, going in and running through the, the hoops and all the carnival stuff, as Mike would call it. But sometimes it does. Sometimes we go in and like bless the house or do an exorcism of the property or something like that. And usually that's to give them a peace of mind, to be honest with you. And we even know most of the time that there's nothing really going on. But I have worked with Mike 10, 12 years now, and there has been cases that I can't I've seen some wild stuff happen when Mike would start blessing somebody or going through the first rite, and they would get pretty upset. And I seen some strength come out of some pretty small people. And Mike, he's not a big guy, but he's not little. And that's kind of where I came in at, was to try to police that if it happened. And then sometimes and a lot of times we found it's also people just trying to, they've watched something on, TV, and next thing they think it's going to get them somewhere or something.
Right.
And Mike, I don't know if you've watched Ghost Town Terror, but that show, the first season of it, Mike is actually the priest that they bring in at the end of the season. And
Okay.
and he actually told him what he felt it really was, but that never aired. So, they just had him there kind of do his thing, and everything. And but he stays in constant contact with them, and they're saying that literally, she's saying, the owner's saying, literally, with everything and the TV crew's still there for the second, I guess, third season, that it's getting worse because of them. So, which doesn't surprise me, but we're thinking about taking a trip out there maybe this summer, in the summer.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's probably the number one sort of situation that we run into when we're doing private cases is there may be some kind of activity going on there. There might be some weird stuff going on there, but it's almost always a combination of, or one of the factors of, either extremely high out of control EMFs all over the house and ungrounded wires and all kinds of the whole energy field on the house is just awful, and or there's all kinds of emotional struggle going on with the family, and that sort of sets the tone and gets people into the mindset that they're already upset, their emotions and the hormone levels are all over the place and going crazy, and then you add to it a little bit of activity and it's almost like a spark, and
Yep.
so it gets blown out of proportion, and then, like you said, it gets given a name, it gets given a personality. Oh, it does this and that. It doesn't like this person, it likes this person, and it sort of becomes like a tulpa, almost, in a way, like a thought form, and it takes on a life of its own. And when you quell the strife within the family and that energy calms down, then all the other activity also follows, and that calms down as well, for sure.
Many times.
Yeah.
Many times. A lot more than what they show, for sure.
Yeah. So there's like so many things that we could get into, but the main reason that I wanted to call you on here is because I've, like we were speaking before we went live here, is I've been doing audio podcasts for years, but never had the luxury of the video part of the podcast. And so when I had plans to go to video, the first thing I thought of was, well, hey, let's highlight some of the images that we've caught, and we'll throw them up and we'll discuss them. And the main reason I wanted to have you here, Andy, was because you were present for this, and Beth and I went to Virginia. She bought a table at an event. The name escapes me. Do you remember the name of the event?
No, but that's okay.
Yeah, Paravation.
Yeah.
Paravation. There you go.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. So we go to the event. It was a low turnout, so there was a lot of time for people to chit chat and stuff like that. And there was a lot of investigators there, as well as vendors and stuff. And so we begin talking, and we connected with Andy, and he says, oh, we got some local places to check out. I'm from this town, so let's go check out some spots. And we're like, oh, hell yeah, because I got my equipment with me. I'm like, already.
Yeah.
So he takes us up to this mountaintop, or this like mountain ridge, and like, why don't you set the stage for this little trip we took, Andy, and then we'll take a look at the photos and then we'll discuss it.
So the spot where we went to was actually about 4 miles south of the actual biggest part of the skirmish of the Cedar Creek battle of Cedar Creek. So the spot that we were at, literally a day before the actual big skirmish, that was a Union camp out right there that we were at. In the morning 2 days prior, and forgot the dates, but literally the Confederates crossed Cedar Creek and snuck up in the fog and early morning into this encampment, and that's what the Union woke up to. So, further studying that after you took this picture, I did find out that there was a lot of cavalry involved with that. So there was a lot of horseback that came in with the Confederates. But yeah, I mean, we just decided that, and actually, I wasn't even thinking of that spot when we went to the first place that we stopped at. But we had to leave and go out that way. And I was like, oh, I forgot about this. And that was my second or third time being there. And I've always heard things there, but I've never, not what you got. So
yeah, so we just driving up this mountain road, and let me pull up the images here. Okay, so we go up this mountaintop and we pull off the road, and we just park the car and we walk out into this nice little glade here. It was a gorgeous little scene. And it was about dusk when shortly before we got there, we found this cool little geocaching spot under a cedar tree, and we were just hanging out, going through all the stuff, and we had some equipment with us, like I said, so we decided to just investigate. And so I remember one of us had a speaker, and we started playing some bugle calls. I remember you pulled out, Andy, and we're just trying to get some activity going. At this point, I just walked off from the group and just faced down this little meadow and just started taking pictures. And so I took a series of 3 in this one set, but I took a whole bunch. I mean, probably a couple hundred pictures altogether in total. But this series of 3 is the one that's interesting. And so here's the first frame, and then the very next frame is this, and you can see the little anomaly there on the right side. And then I took another one, and then you see that it's gone, right? So it was pretty cool. I immediately, I tend to take a lot of pictures and go through them immediately, a lot more now, especially. Seeing this thing, we went back to the event, and the following day I'm just walking around, and everyone's asking me like, hey, let's see that picture. And so I'm showing it to a whole bunch of different investigators, and I think I got as many answers as to what this could be as there were investigators at the event. Yeah. So I mean, to this day, I've looked at it 100 times. I have no idea what this is. I showed this to some skeptics, and they thought, oh, maybe an insect or something like that. But the thing about this image I find strange is that, okay, there's no blurring in the background, so I didn't move the camera as I was taking it, right? You can see the images are nice and crisp. And this image itself, although strange and seemingly blurry, doesn't seem to be smeared, although I guess it could be coming straight at the camera or straight away from the camera if it's something, in fact, flying in front of it. But I can't make heads or tails of this thing. I've heard everything from a dog in sunglasses to a soldier to a turkey.
Native American.
A Native American. Yeah.
Yeah, we even somebody pointed out at the store, since I have a copy of it up on the wall, and we were looking at it, and somebody pointed out that it looked like maybe the early manifestation of a horse. And I'm like, and I can see kind of what they're saying, but
yeah. Okay.
But that's another one out of probably 100 that I've heard as well. Because people come into the store and they want to see things, and I kind of tell them the backstory and I show them that, and they're, completely like us, just
Yeah.
I've had the same thing. Somebody said a bat flying by, and I'm like, there's no,
No bet. Well, as far as we
yeah,
know.
there's, I don't,
Well, yeah, we didn't see any bats.
no, and yeah, I can't explain it either.
There was a boatload of lightning bugs out,
Yeah, I do remember
but
that.
Yeah, but that was later at night when it
this
got
was
darker.
it was later.
Yeah,
We didn't see any of them.
Yeah, and no one was standing. You were there, Andy. No one was standing there like a person.
no,
Yeah, I purposely stepped in front of the rest of the
yeah,
group so that I could just get a clean shot of the meadow. Because honestly, I wasn't necessarily trying to catch anything. I was just like, wow, this is really beautiful. And so just started snapping sets of 3 because that's just habitually what I do.
That's what you do in the paranormal world.
And yeah, and
yep.
That whole night we were getting a lot that whole night, hearing things and sensing
Mhm.
things. So yeah, it was a good night.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I've always experienced out there is more audible than anything else.
Hmm.
And but yeah, that's definitely been a subject of talk at the store. I know at Ghost City, trying to figure out. You can
Yeah.
imagine all the pics that we get from tours and stuff, and
I'm sure.
and nothing like that though.
Yeah. We have to. I can't wait to take a road trip there and just come and visit and love to stay. And yeah, I'm come and see you, Andy. That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, that is just that's. I mean, you might have a different opinion because you actually lived it, but I mean, it seems like a cool place to grow up for me. Mountains and all kinds of amazing places like that to explore. Like it's gorgeous country down there.
Oh, it was definitely yeah, small town living and Friday night lights and stuff, but I wasn't really at the football games. Once I graduated, we were out pretty much full force investigating at that point.
Oh yeah,
And a lot of legends around there, a lot of stuff's happened. So it's a lot of history, which makes it really cool. And my grandmother, she's just turned 103,
Oh, God bless her.
and
whoa.
she can still get out and hike and do everything. Yeah, I don't know what's in the genes of her side of the family, but
Holy crap.
That's
but
awesome.
but for her to tell us things that happened when she was a little girl that has turned into hauntings, or to get firsthand experience from somebody who actually grew up, or she went to school with. There's a legend not far from where we were at, or not a legend, but a haunting of a little girl. She ended up falling off a horse and dying from the injuries. And they see her a lot around the property that she passed on. And my grandmother's like, oh yeah, she was this, and she used to wear this, and because they were, went to school together.
Wow.
And it's like, so you have that to take with you as ammunition on trying to, make contact. And I think I have her talked into going with us sometime. We'll see.
Nice. That's
So,
nice. Yeah.
That'll be amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it does
well,
seem to help with either activity or communication or whatever you're sort of looking to do, and on a piece of land or in a dwelling. If you have a personal connection to it for some reason, I don't know what that is, but I mean, we've also noticed too with because Beth and I, really Beth, I'm just a sidekick, manages the all the paranormal events and investigations at West Hill Manor that's near us, and we've had the opportunity to go back and investigate over and over and over again and see other teams go in as well and hear their stories and hear their evidence and stuff. And it seems that, the more times you go back to a location, it seems like as you get more comfortable with it, it seems to get more comfortable with you.
They get to know you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if things just go easier, or you seem to get more activity or more voices or whatever. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I explained that. Somebody asked me the other day, they were like, well, how do you get, because I've been doing the Jenny Wade house. Oh, I at least go once or twice a year. And now that I'm in Gettysburg, I've been this year twice already. And
Nice.
we were there last Saturday night, and, I was getting whatever I pulled out, something was making contact. But the thing was, the guy that took us in there from the company that owns it, he stayed with us. And I think with him going in and out of there all the time and stuff, he was like, "Do you know who I am?" And REM pod would go off. And I mean, I'm skeptic of some of the equipment we use, but it was a little bit too right on the, right on the button. Like when he would say something and it
Yeah.
would, actually do it. And I'm like, but I really think what you're saying, that's what goes on there is Mike had been in and out of that place. He's constantly daily in there, especially during the season. And um, whoever or whatever resides there definitely didn't have a problem feeling uncomfortable around him, because it seemed like when he would walk away from us a little bit and kind of go over to one side of the room, that's where things would happen at. So we kept making him go over and like his corner and stuff and putting equipment around him,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly with that. I mean, we've had a couple places we go to the in and out, St. Albans. Chris Hammond and I used to stay there 3-4 nights in a row. And last time we were there, we got more communication I think I ever have at that place, like constant. And I believe that was because he had been there like the week before and the week before that doing different events. And then we had ours. And remember the woman saying, "Oh, they're getting familiar with you." That's what she said. And you don't really put a thought into it until then. It's like, well, I guess it would be like having neighbors or somebody moving in as a roommate or something, renting a room out. The more comfortable you get, the more, you're going to be talkative and sharing more with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah, I
true.
agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think just the land and where that mountain we were driving around and stuff. There was just just had kind of a feeling about it. I mean, do you agree? I think we both sort of felt. I mean, it just had like a certain, I don't know, feeling about it.
Yeah, it felt like driving around, like kind of like the same feeling when you drive around Gettysburg, like the battlefield. Like
Yes,
type
yes.
that's a feeling I was getting.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it. 100%.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is I thought about this this day we spent out there. After I went through the audio real good and stuff that we recorded, I didn't pick up anything on any of the recorders. But one thing I thought about was shortly before this image was taken, do you remember? Let me pull this back up here while I'm going to pull up this window. Wait, sorry. Where is it? I'm going to move this. Here we go. I just want to share this while I'm talking about this. Shortly before this series of images was taken, do you remember all of us thinking that a car pulled up and we thought, "Oh crap, are the cops here?" Because we clearly heard a loud car door slamming shut.
Yep.
And I walked over. All of us heard it, and it was loud. It sounded like they parked right next to our cars, although I didn't see any or hear a car approach us, which I thought was weird. As I'm walking over there, I'm like, "Man, that's weird. I didn't see lights or like hear the car coming up the road or nothing." But I clearly heard a car door, so I was going over there just to make sure everything was cool or our vehicles weren't in the way or anything. And there's no one there. There's no one in sight. There's no dust on the road. You drive up and down that road. It's like those gravel mountain roads. It leaves like that wake of dust behind it. You can't really drive through there and not be noticed eventually, right?
Exactly.
There was no vehicles anywhere in sight. But all of us heard a car door slamming, and I just find it interesting that that's something that John Keel pointed out in these different areas of strange paranormal activity happening, that is a common thing that's heard is a car door slamming.
Really?
Yes. Yes, they talked about it in Hellier even. It was in Keel's books, and I've heard it from other reports. They're out in the middle of the woods and they hear a car door shut. It's like, what the heck? You can't possibly have a car there, and yet you hear a car door. Well, we heard that, and it slipped my mind until I was going back over the audio and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. Because I don't hear the car door in the recording, I hear us all react to it, and you hear me walk over there, and I'm like, yeah, there's no one around here. Just
Yeah,
there was an
because I thought
afterthought. It's
somebody,
weird.
I thought somebody had walked back to get something out of the car.
Yeah.
But then and everybody was standing around, and I'm like, that was weird. I remember that very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's just interesting how like certain things of a paranormal nature happen to you that are super weird that you just uncharacteristically just sort of forget about.
Hmm.
And if you don't document it, write it down, or mention it to someone else, it'll get forgotten about. And it's just weird how like super weird stuff can happen to you, and you can just kind of forget about it, go back to sleep, or just go on with what you're doing, and not even paying it. Like that incident we had in North Jersey with the weird guy that's walked up and sniffed me and then walked away while we were investigating a
That's
UFO.
another story, Andy. It's weird.
Right. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's actually the first episode of the Bunker audio podcast. We talked about that case because I went up to North Jersey to investigate the 1975 Stonehenge incidents. And what was cool is I had the report in my hand, and so we traced the exact route that the main witness took through this park in Bergen, North Bergen, and yeah, and then like all of a sudden, some weird stuff happened to our radio, and our GPS went all crazy, and all this feedback started coming through our radio at the same point of the road where this guy saw this UFO, and it affected his radio. So we were like all freaked out for a minute.
Nice.
We were in the park, and we're just sitting there taking a break shortly before we are heading back, and this guy comes out of nowhere, just walks up to me, and just starts sniffing me like a dog. And like a normal looking guy, wasn't homeless or like disheveled. He looked like he was maybe an Eskimo or like maybe like part Korean. Maybe he kind of looked to him,
Right.
and was a short guy, like stocky, short guy. Looked totally normal. Was dressed normal. Like was just walking along with other people that were walking their dogs and stuff around this lake. He walks up and sniffs me, walks away. And but the weird thing is that Beth and I were just like frozen. We couldn't react. I couldn't think. I didn't.
Because we were like, what the
We were
F
stunned.
is going on? He's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the Men in Black alien story.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. We'll get into
Which,
that.
It
some other
can be
time.
related, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just it's one of those things that like we should have reacted and jumped up and like, what the F's wrong with you? What you know what I mean? Like, what the hell's going on? What's wrong with you? Like nothing. We had no reaction. We just stared at him, watched him walk away,
Right.
and then just went about the day. And we're like, oh, that was weird.
I mean, I would have probably done the same, but like, there's a certain point of weirdness where you just don't have any kind of answer or anything,
Yeah. So Andy, I got a question for you. So during any like investigation or anything, have you had anything like scary happen to you or something that was like, wait a second, there's something going on here. I'm not sure if I, feel safe or something's going to happen. Did anything ever happen to you like that during an investigation?
Yes, a couple times.
Okay.
So I was at Moundsville actually, and was in the sugar shack underneath of it. And when you go in there, and this was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were having a paracon, and it was so dead, no pun intended, that they told us that we could go if we left at least one person at our table that we could go in and investigate, throughout the prison. So that was my first time there, and I just wanted to go to the sugar shack. That was my only place I asked. Well, I wasn't prepared to go into a place that was pitch black, barely see even during that time of day. So I went in there, and actually, it was Jennifer Kennedy. She was with me,
Okay.
the one of the pair of age. So it was her, myself, and another friend of mine, Danielle. We were all kind of on a team together. We, did things a lot together. Well, we walked in, and I had a couple pieces of equipment with me, and they would not. Jennifer being gifted, and the other gal was too. They would not. There's a small hallway that leads into it, but once you stepped into that hallway, it just got darker and darker as you kept walking, and then you go into the big room. And what ended up happening was they wouldn't come out of the hallway. So they stood there, and Jennifer's saying, "You really need to come on." And she's like, it's not a good feeling. And I said, well, let's just see if we can get something to react or whatever, because I've been waiting to go in that place, for years. And so I had a flashlight, an EMF detector on me, and my phone, and that was it. We just had came kind of bare necessities anyway. And the first thing that happened was my flash. I smacked the. It's like I guess it would be the foundation pylon, but I slapped it concrete, and I said, "Can anybody tap back, make a noise?" The normal stuff, and nothing. So I started like saying some things that I thought maybe would be like prison slang, maybe. I don't know what you would call it. And that wasn't really working. So then I realized why they called it the Sugar Shack. So I made some references of like, come over here and give me a hug or something, like that.
Give you some sugar.
That's right. So the next thing I know, my flashlight that I just charged, it was one of those charged flashes, it starts to die. And it was really weird. Like it went from bright and it got brighter, and then it just slowly, and that was it, boom, gone. And so by this time, both of them are really freaking out because we told you, me, I'm pushing the envelope, you know what I'm saying? And so it wasn't so bad. Like the EMF detector nothing was happening, but I pulled my phone out to use the flashlight. And right before we had went in there, I'd set my phone up to do any kind of EVPs that I could pick up on the phone. And it was like 76%. And I just remember that number, 76%. And I pull it out, I cut the flashlight on, I look down, and it's starting to blink. Like, battery needs charged. And I'm like, how is this happening,
Yeah.
So I pull the camera up, or put it on. It took like you did. I took 3 consecutive pics, right, pretty much in a row, and I'll have to find that pic and send it to you. But as the phone finally dies and I'm walking away, something smacks the wall twice like I did. But the thing was, I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it's like it's a basement, but it's concrete, but it's got that fine thin layer of like gravel and stuff on it, or sandy, I guess, where people have brought it in over the years or whatever. And so as soon as that happened, the smack, I started to kind of pick up a little bit, faster to get to where the girls were, because it was hard to see and navigate to get back to them. And something came up behind me that was dragging its feet or shuffling its feet. It wasn't picking it up. It was that coming behind me, and it was getting faster. And so I didn't care if I ran into something. I just took off, because it's one thing. I usually don't get too scared, but when I can't see something and I hear it coming at me, it's like, okay, if I can't at least, I mean, how can you really defend yourself against, any kind of energy or spirit? You know what I mean? But at least I want to have at least a shot at it. You know what I'm saying? If nothing else. And so we left, and I was a little shook up, and so they were too, and it got kind of just lost in the rest of the evening, and we stayed the night in the hotel. Had my youngest son, and I had a room, and then we went over to Danielle and Jennifer's to play some Cards Against Humanity. That's what we were playing, and so he's not in the mix with us. My son isn't, and he wants to play on my phone, so I give it to him, and he starts looking through the pictures, and he says, "Who's this?" And I said, "Do what?" And he shows it to Jennifer, who turns automatic just pale. And I'm like, what are we looking at? Because, I love Jennifer to death, but she could sometimes be a little extreme, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and they show it, and this picture is it's a human form that goes up to the neck, at the bottom of the neck, and then the neck was like 16, 18 inches long, and then a scrunched face. But you could see the tennis shoes. You could see, like, it had high top shoes on, and you remember how, so it had high top shoes on, but the tongues were hanging out, which would have been like an 80s style, you know, back then and stuff like that. And then it had, like, remember the old jogging shorts that kind of have the, you know, they come up and do this number, like kind of, you know, they're not solid at the bottom like shorts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it looked like a shirt that was either showing the midriff or they had it tied up in the front.
Oh.
And so I'm looking at it. Well, one of the guys that was giving tours there was actually a prison guard when it was open. And everybody's like you had happen. Everybody's looking at this picture and they're freaking out because the face just does not look human. And he says, that makes a lot of sense. He said, the Sugar Shack, the only time they really went in there is when the weather was too bad outside. So they had pool table, or not pool table, ping pong tables down there and some stuff. He said, that looks like what they would have wore back then. And he said that would have been somebody advertising, is what he said.
Well,
And I think back about everything that I was saying and stuff like that.
Yeah, you did ask for a hug, Andy.
True. Yeah, my own fault.
You asked for some sugar.
But the creepiest thing was this thing started visiting me at home.
Oh boy.
Like in my dreams and stuff, because we had made a date. We had made a date to go back and investigate it like a month later for an overnight one. And I was getting warnings from this thing in my dreams. It wasn't happening every night, but you know, so
yeah.
Wow.
Because you asked her. You like gave her permission.
Obviously the first place I went back to was there. When we got there, and I was like, I'm facing this and you're going to leave me alone, you know?
Yeah.
And then after that, I was fine. And all the cases that I've done that were dark and stuff like that with Mike, that was the first time I really ever had anything, you know, I've had little things happen like a day or two after I was somewhere, but nothing. This thing was about a month long, a couple times a week, you know, to the point I was like, drinking a couple glasses of wine or something, hoping that would keep me from dreaming that night or something. You know, I was trying a couple beers, stuff like that. And but it actually, a couple people were concerned that I worked with, because I was ending up just kind of not, once I woke up from having a dream of that, it was like, you know, everything else around you, then you're automatically, your mind's playing like you're seeing little something moving in the corner, or there's a knock here or a bang here. But I don't know. I think that was one of the scariest. And then I had one time Mike and I were doing a blessing, and we watched. There was three people from the family there, and the girl is the teenage daughter is who they thought was the issue. And so Mike was doing like the first rite to see if he's seen anything exorcism, you know, and the mother's sitting beside her with a baby on her lap, and the baby was not walking yet, I guess is what you could say. Like, it was, I don't think she was, I can't remember if it was, she was around the 9-10 month old. And this baby literally stood up in her mom's arms and yelled, "Shut up." And that is the God's honest truth. And when that happened, you want to talk about freaking me out, because that was something that should not have happened. And but it just stood up. I mean, it did it in a baby voice, but
wow.
I said, "Does this kid stand?" But it said clearly, "Shut up," just like that.
Wow.
And everybody, you know, literally the mother almost dropped the kid, you know what I'm saying, and everything. But I don't know what we messed with. Everything we seemed to do fixed whatever issue it was there. I'm not going to say it was demonic, you know what I'm saying, because, but whatever it was did not. But to take over a kid like that quick is the only thing I could think, unless we tried to think if maybe, we asked the parents and asked the other one, hey, do you guys say that a lot? Shut up. And this kid's picked it up, I mean, you try to logically
Right.
explain something like that.
Sure.
But I mean, stood up on its own, like not even pulling up on the mother's arms or nothing, because she kind of had her rested up against her. And this kid just stood up and looked right over at Mike and said, shut up. And
Wow.
the mother, that bothered me because I thought more like
Well, you
the
think kids are
same.
protected too. You think
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what bothered me
that's what we're
was
told.
knowing,
Yeah. Kids are
even
protected.
if,
Yeah.
yeah, even not even saying demonic as much as just
No,
the
yeah.
energy being able to take over like that.
Right.
And,
Like where did the energy go? That's what you figured you're doing that, trying to help heal. And then as you know, even like I've assisted in 3 exorcisms also, and that has to go somewhere once you are done with that exorcism.
yeah,
So, you try to protect yourself and hold space, and then it's like if you don't protect yourself, that has to leave that negative, we won't say the D word like you said, but it has to go somewhere. So can you prove where it's gone? That's the thing. You just don't know.
yeah. Well, it's like, I'll tell you, we did one time that I'm pretty sure it was something. I still don't like labeling stuff demonic,
Right.
but it was the property, I think, is what was causing it. And I was leaning more towards elemental, um,
Yeah.
and something negative in the house. And Mike and I go outside, and this woman lived on a cul-de-sac. And across from her, she kind of lived up on the hill overlooking the cul-de-sac. And there was a house beside her. Now, this is down where we were at, close to it, actually.
Okay.
So it wasn't abnormal if you lived in a subdivision that your neighbor had chickens in the backyard. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and then past them, there was a goat farm behind that, because you started getting into, there was a farm that sat on the backside of that house. And Mike we go out and put, some medallions down, stuff like that. And Mike and I are doing, a blessing. Well, actually, Mike was doing what he calls exorcism of the property. And then you seal it, bless it, seal it. And so Mike was like, got to that point to where he's pretty much, being very stern that you're getting out of, removing this from it. And no kidding, all of a sudden, like, we heard these chickens went crazy. Like, they just, man, like, we thought there was like a fox attack going on or something.
Wow.
But the thing was, it was almost like you could see them, different parts of the yard where chickens were, they were jumping and flying away. And then the next thing, we see the goats jumping like out of the way, but we're seeing nothing, what I'm saying, running away from us. And then we hear like boom, like at the end of it, where like something ran in the barn that was like, I don't know, a good 500-600 yards away from us. And yeah, I don't know. That was the weirdest thing that ever happened. And Mike and I still talk about that. Like, you can imagine in your mind's eye of something running, and these things are getting out of its way and stuff like, and that's what it was like, but nothing seen. So obviously that showed us that they definitely leave, but like
Right.
you're saying, where do they go?
Yeah. You send them to the ends of the earth, the deepest oceans, and you just, you send them there. But, you
Yeah.
know, that's like, I also do house cleansings and house blessings because I'm an ordained minister too. And,
Right.
a couple times, and then people are like, well, why don't you charge for that? I'm like, listen, I, this one family we went out to, and it seemed like, yes, it was a husband and a wife, and the husband kept having like something come into bed with him every night. So we did house blessings, told him some things to do, and I'm like, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? There's not much more I can do because I really think he enjoyed this. If he doesn't want it gone, it's not going to
Yep.
work. And that's why I don't charge. I'm like, I can't guarantee that this thing, whatever's going on, is going to leave. But you say
Right.
that, yeah, it keeps coming back. But I'm like, do you want it gone? I didn't think he really wanted it gone. So how can you help somebody if they're not going to help themselves?
I've been there. Yep,
Right?
I've been there. Yep, I've been there. Yeah, we had a gal that was she was being bruised up and everything else, and she wanted to know what it was, but actually, I think she enjoyed what was going on. And Mike and I went out there because that actually Mike's church, his diocese sent him out there. And once Mike got there and she's talking to her, she's just, oh yeah, she was like, it'll wake me up in the middle of the night. And, she had watched some TV, so she had names for it, like succubus or incubus or whatever they call it. And she's like, but what was crazy is she was a dancer. You know what I'm saying? And so Mike's like, I think she literally likes what's going on. So he's like, I can bless and cleanse, and that's all you can do. I mean, at some point they got to take care of themselves or want it, like you're saying.
You
Um,
have to want it gone.
yep.
You know?
And many times, man, we've ran into people that are using it to gain attention from others. And it's not them that's calling us, it's the other members of the family or friends that get concerned. And then you go in there and it's like, man, you can't. You can do whatever you can, and
And tell them what to do, advise them, and they just don't. Yeah, because the people that I was just telling you about, it was the wife that was calling. It wasn't him, the guy that this
yep.
thing is spirit or is getting into bed with him. Because I told people, I said, 90% of the time you create your own negative energy or your own negative entity by the life you're living, or something that they did when they were younger, invited, made it, that saying, made a deal with the devil. But you know what I'm saying? They just did some
Yeah.
choices. And as a child, it just, sometimes it doesn't come out as strongly. And now they're an adult and they're like, oh, this is happening. This is happening. I can't control it. Can you help me? And I'm like, well, what did you do? Did you ever do this? Did you ever do Ouija boards? Did you ever, are you living your life? You're an alcoholic? You're doing drugs? Like, what's going on? There's like, there's like so many questions, over 50 questions that we ask, because we need to know what we're walking into. And some of them lie, they lie.
Oh yeah.
About, yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100% true. Yeah.
Right?
And there's a lot of times where, you'll get this, you'll send out a questionnaire and they'll answer a bunch of questions, send it back to us, and we can go through it. And before we even get there, we'll have red flags. Like, wait a minute, they're saying this thing here in this part, but they answered this question like this, like that doesn't add up. So that's going to be, we need to ask them about that, or they'll just bring up things that are inconsistent or contradictory. And, it sort of gives you an idea of like what you're sort of walking into. Cause I mean, you don't really know what's going on. You could walk into the middle of a marital dispute or a domestic violence like episode. Yeah, you know what I mean. You got to protect yourself because you don't know what you're walking into.
Yeah, and they'll say, and I tell people, they think they need a cleansing, but actually they need a blessing, or vice versa. And I'll be like, well, I'm going to come out. I need to know what I'm walking into. I'm not going to cleanse or bless something that really needs cleansing, because I'm not going to bless something that's negative in the house. So, so you really need to know what you're doing when you do this stuff.
Right. Yeah, we've had some wild ones ourselves.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, 100%. Because and yeah. The other thing too is like, like we were talking about earlier, is how much of this activity was taking place before these people got there? Was this activity happening to them before they moved to this place? Did it start when they got there? Like all these details are,
they invited in,
right?
And it's either the house, the person, or the land that needs the cleansing or the blessing. So, and usually when we like you, Andy, when you do the house cleansing or blessing, you also give a blessing to the land, or cleanse the land when you after you're done, because you just do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to next. Yeah, like we just, as a matter of habit, kind of no matter what's going on, if we're going somewhere and it's like the place that like you, Andy, you grew up on an area that was a battlefield. Beth grew up on a
Native American.
on a verified like Native American reservation,
Mm.
and
Yes.
woke up seeing Indians
Yeah.
like in a room and stuff, and
Yes.
so like we kind of we understand that like this this land was basically stolen, and a crazy genocide took place, and so everywhere you go is an Indian burial ground, in my opinion, in North America. So we sort of, if there's woods nearby, especially, or a creek or a stream or something that would have been sacred to the native tribes, like we just make a habit of giving them an offering anyway, just
Yeah.
because it can't hurt.
We always have something in the car.
Exactly.
Because you just don't know. Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's one thing, man, that if I've run into something that has Native American ties when we're doing an investigation, I stop right there. I have a couple friends, I got a guy that's he's not really a team member, but I could reach out to him. He is, his mom was actually a shaman, and I don't know, I mean, you can tell he's Indian, but I think his dad was, man, it's like a weird mix, but it's Native American, and I think like, oh man, what do they call, not Alaskan, but
Inuit.
Eskimo.
Eskimo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inuit. Yep. But he has some really weird beliefs because he has it from both sides of the family. But he has always done very well with me and anything Native American, and because I don't even try to touch that. I think that's some of the strongest energy that there is out there. Just because they just believed. I mean, they literally put everything into it. In their belief system, they're not quite like we are today. I mean, we do, but we can cut a television on and find out the news, and they would get weather at a weird time of the year, and it was spiritual, for them.
Right.
So, but yeah, we got talking about Native American. I'm not going to say what place it is, but there's a newer place in Gettysburg now that you can rent to. That's opened up for investigations.
Oh, where's that?
And we'll talk about it sometime.
Okay.
But the owners are very charismatic, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But she put on her website the other night that they are seeing skinwalkers on the property. And I'm like, we are. But I mean, Gettysburg was known. There was, checking back in history, there was literally they have records of, I guess, when unfortunately we took them prisoner or whatever, they had records of so many of them right there in Adams County, kind of like in the Sox Bridge area, like down in that way.
Never heard of
And
that.
so, I mean, but a skinwalker in Gettysburg, that like just really.
So it's at her dwelling where she lives?
That's what she's saying on the property that we're going.
I don't think I want to see a skinwalker.
Yeah, but hold on.
See that? Yeah. I don't want
But now, a couple days later, she says that she saw Jesus on her property, who told her that the skinwalkers were not there to cause any harm.
So so I'm assuming she's like Catholic. I guess that's her religion. If she believed, like, if she saw Jesus. So
no idea.
We have to find out what's going on in her life, and then we'll see. I'm just saying, that's what you do. You investigate. First rule of thumb being a paranormal investigator, you debunk everything first, as you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's probably I've heard that it's a very active home place. But how do we know if they're thinking stuff like that? Maybe they're doing rituals or something. I don't know. She's very hippie-ish.
We'll volunteer our time with you if you want us to go. I'll go with you, Andy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Because you know what, we do this work to help people too. Because
Exactly.
you know the paranormal. Okay, lots of drama. We've been in 2 groups before. We won't mention them. Lots of drama. So we're like free
Yeah.
agents, and I know you've been through lots of drama too.
Oh, yeah.
And everything like the stuff you put on Facebook. But I just want you to know you're doing amazing work for the community. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You're an
Thank you.
empath, and you're one of the nicest people that I have ever met, and I mean that. You like I said, you wear your heart on your sleeve,
100%.
and yeah,
Thank you.
you are like very truthful, very honest, and very caring and loving, and I trust you with everything I have. I mean that. I'm a good judge
Same.
of character, And
Same.
oh, thank you. And yeah,
Definitely.
I love you, Andy. I said it. I said it on the, but I just think you know what I can. You're just a very caring and loving, and you know what you
Thank
go
you.
through life, and there's not many people that you meet that you could actually say that. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like you just know. It's just a knowing, and that's the kind of person you are, and that's how I feel about you. So just letting you know
I
that
appreciate it. Thank you.
I will always be in your corner.
Same with you. Same with both of you.
Thank
Definitely.
you. I know that.
100%. 100%. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're one of the people we love to run into in Gettysburg. It's like you're like a feature at the bash. Like it's
Yeah.
not the bash.
I
if
know. We
Andy's
just
not
have to
there.
get there and hang out with them, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
stay overnight somewhere. It's about a 3-hour drive for us from
Yeah.
Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So
That's nothing.
yeah, no, that's nothing, and we can just stay overnight somewhere.
Yeah, I would like to go. We'll maybe go out into the woods a little bit and try to hunt some. What's the proper vernacular for Sasquatch down in those parts?
Well, I didn't learn until I moved here that Gettysburg has their own little, or the surrounding area has what they call the albatwitch.
Albatwitch.
Twitch.
Aha!
What
I've
the hell's
heard.
an alba twitch?
I've heard of this.
Is
I've
it like
heard
a
of this.
Sasquatch? Is it like a Bigfoot, Andy?
It's
Or
like a
creature?
small. We actually sell a T-shirt with it on it.
Oh, you
So
do?
all I know is that it's supposed to be Stacy, actually my podcast partner.
Mm-hmm.
She did a festival that was like an apple farm festival or something, and
Yeah.
she said they had albatwitch little sun catchers everywhere, but they have an albatwitch festival, and I didn't know that either.
That's where I heard of it from. The Albatwitch Festival.
But it's smaller. It's a smaller version and supposedly a more loving version of Sasquatch that must stick around the apple orchards.
Oh, okay.
But supposedly when you get in their territory, if your energy's not good, they'll throw apples at you and stuff. So
Okay.
I mean, that's what I've been told. So
Well, if that's the worst of it, then I wouldn't mind running into that then.
Well, you're super
Exactly.
nice. You're not going to get apples thrown at you.
Well, and like New Jersey here, of course, I grew up in the Pine Barrens, so we have the Jersey Devil. You heard of the Jersey Devil. And we have a friend that actually, there's been sightings of the Jersey Devil, and like this big bird, I don't know, what is it, like dinosaur looking thing that, people, there's stories that people have seen it. So I don't, the Pine Barrens, if you've ever been out in the Pine Barrens, Andy, they are so eerie and scary. There's like a sense to them, and they're just like, this is my backyard growing up. And it's just like
it's a weird place because you can tell, like there's a long trail that there's several trails that go through there that you can hike, but one of the major ones, it's a larger trail. It's 7-10 miles. Batona Trail.
There's so many trails out.
You can walk through the Pine Barrens for hours and you don't hear or see another human being or another animal.
There's always somebody watching you. It's very scary.
But you feel watched at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah,
like you normally you see rabbits and squirrels and birds and you hear chirping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just like you can walk out there for hours and it's just dead silence. So there's nothing. It's weird.
Mm.
Yeah, scary.
I tried though.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get down there and do some. Maybe look for the albatwitch. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I want to see Andy, not the albatwitch.
Well, we'll see the albatwitch with Andy. That'll be fun.
So I'll let you know if you come to the bash this year. I think we're going to get a little group together and go up to. We did it last year, and it ended up being hilarious. But we went up. We got a couple spots that they've had a lot of Sasquatch, Bigfoot sightings, and I took Steve Dills and Chris up there last year,
Okay.
and they are on the fence about stuff like that. But once they got into the woods and started hearing some weird stuff,
Yeah.
it was like they were like right up against me, and I'm like, I said, guys, I'm bigger than you all. You're faster, so it doesn't matter anyway. It's gonna catch me first,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we'll be there. I'm on the psychic panel again, so
Yeah.
we'll be there.
nice.
Yeah.
But,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
no,
miss it. It's a great event. We love Pam and Steve, so we'll be there helping out.
100%.
actually, that's who I was with right before I got on for this.
Okay, were you? Oh, funny. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we were just at Hoover recently. I think we're headed back soon, right?
Yeah, I did a tea leaf reading
Yeah.
class there, and then we're going back for an event.
Yes.
Stacy asked me for a healing event, so I said absolutely. So I'll be
Yeah,
back.
I only lived 2 miles from the Hoover
Oh
house.
my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's great.
what are we like? How far are we? 3.5 hours.
It's like, yeah, it's just
a little
past
bit
Gettysburg,
further
so-
than Gettysburg, like maybe
Yeah.
like yeah. So
Yep, I literally live 2.1 miles from my driveway to their parking lot.
I'm jealous.
That's awesome.
If we live closer, I'd be there more, but
Yeah.
we don't live as close.
Yeah.
But we'll be back to do the event. Stacy asked me to do it, and it was an honor, and I would love to do it.
Yeah, I'm interested in the tea leaf reading. I really am.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what I did? I went out and I have a table. I have a table tipping, so I have a table for that too now.
Nice.
Do table tipping, and she actually. I know it sounds weird, but she already told me her name is Alice. The table. So
Nice.
I'm ready to do that. Yeah, I'm going to bring that. So it'll be good.
Yeah, hell yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, tea leaf reading is fun.
It's so fun.
You should try it sometime. I'll teach you sometime, Andy. I'll show you how to do it.
Awesome. Love to.
Yeah, because you're very intuitive. I know it. So yeah.
Yeah, if you're intuitive and you have a good imagination, and you can sort of, if you're good at seeing forms and patterns and stuff like that, then it's a lot of fun. It's cool.
Yeah, it's another form of divination, so it's fun.
Yeah.
People like it. Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So Andy, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Oh,
And
I was so excited. Anytime I get to see you or talk to you, I'm excited. So
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We didn't get to everything I wanted to talk about, but we'll just have to have you back on again at some later point. And
not a problem.
Yeah, awesome, man. And we look forward to seeing you in Gettysburg as always. And
if not, we'll see you before that. If you're going,
yeah.
Oh no, Gettysburg's July. Wait, yeah.
Is it July?
Are you going to Pennhurst this year?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be at Pennhurst.
Yeah, we're working Pennhurst. So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we help
Bob
out
and Gina.
Bob and Gina. Yeah.
We get to hang around the VIPs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there last year. That's where I was at. Was back with Bob and Gina.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Well, come on out again if you can make it.
I most likely am planning on it. So.
All right. Awesome.
Sweet.
We got to make a date to go out and see Andy too.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I've been dealing with a lot. My mom just passed away, so the last year it's just been really hard. And it's just been, she had so many doctor's appointments, and it's just sad and unfortunate. But yeah, at least she's not in pain anymore. She was in severe pain, so
that's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right.
And that's all that matters. She's with my dad now, so
that's it.
Yes,
way
sir.
better place than we are. That's what I always say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're in the midst of a dumpster fire.
Yeah. No.
Oh man. Yeah. So thanks again, Andy, for coming on, and
absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Andy.
It was
great.
See you guys.
Love you. All right. See you soon.
You know that.
Yeah.
Talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. All righty.